What's up, guys? This is Wes with Sincity Tactical. Thank you for joining us today. First off, you might hear that I'm a little raspy. I've been sick for a couple weeks, so bear with me if you hear some coughs or stuff. I do apologize for that. First thing we're going to do is move into our patriotic message.
A member of the U.S. Army steps up to the counter.
Hey, don't deal with this guy. He's a Muslim.
Is he laughing?
Why is that funny?
Unroll?
Hold on. What happened?
This guy's a Muslim.
We live in America. He can have any religion he wants.
Aren't you fighting against these guys?
Not at the moment. Right now, I'm ordering a sandwich.
I don't think you should be working here.
Oh, okay, good.
Buy your chips and move out.
He doesn't follow orders.
Look, I'd like to order some food, just not from you, okay?
Get out. Put the chips down and go buy them somewhere else.
You want me to leave this place?
You have a choice to shop anywhere, just like he has a choice to practice his religion anywhere. That's the reason I wear the uniform, so anyone can live free in this country. Leave the man alone, buy your stuff, and leave.
So as you guys saw there, our video today is based off of the fact that soldiers go to war to fight for Americans. America was built on different races coming here from different countries. So for him to defend the Muslim man in the store was a huge thing. He did it to show that he's not prejudiced and that racism isn't always the case. So for me, that patriotic message was he's fighting for our country and our freedoms to be free. In other countries, religion is set, it's dictated how you need to show your religion and pray and all that stuff, or to not even have the choice to not be religious if you didn't want to be. So that's a pretty powerful message in my opinion. Jax?
Yeah, and obviously with the video that was just shown, Army vet, that was currently in uniform inside the shop. One of my battle buddies, regardless whether I know him or not, he was in there. We wear the uniform to protect and serve this country, just like the cops out in, the street on the civilian side, protect and serve their, city or their county, depending on whether they're just a sheriff or whether they're a city cop or a state trooper, whatever the case may be. That hits home for me. I mean, we do what we do, so people like the gentleman behind the counter have the right and the freedom to practice their religion and, have the ability to work just like myself, Wes, many of you guys out there on the civilian side. And so at the end of the day, yeah, we may be still technically fighting a war on terrorism overseas, even though they're being pulled out and brought home. I know my unit's coming back sometime next year, but bottom line is I couldn't agree with them more. Get what you're there for and get out of the store, quit harassing the man, and move on with your life.
Absolutely. So, with that being said, we're going to move right into our Pro 2A news. For today's Pro 2A news, it will be brought to us by Tucker Carlson and Colion Noir. This video we do not own the rights to. We are using it for media outlet purposes to then have a discussion after to discuss what is going on in our country. Once again, we do not own the rights to this video. If you would like it removed and you're the original owner of the content, please email us at sct@sincitytactical.xyz. Thank you.
Things that's happened in the past few years is watching nonprofit organizations completely betray their core mission. Education organizations setting out to hurt children. Environmental organizations promoting crowding and illegal immigration, which hurts the environment. and of course the watchdog fact checkers online who abet lying. But maybe no turnaround has been more bewildering than what's happened to the American Civil Liberties Union, an organization founded to defend civil liberties, has now decided to attack civil liberties and strip you of your rights. The ACLU, in its most latest announcement, tells us the Second Amendment, one of your civil liberties, is racist. Quote, racism is foundational to the Second Amendment and its inclusion in the Bill of Rights. Is that true? We're going to be literal for a second and ask Colion Noir. He advocates for the Second Amendment for a living. He's a friend of ours, and we're happy to have him on tonight. Colion Noir, thank you so much for coming on. So the Second Amendment, look, both of us know exactly what's going on here. This is a power grab by the people in charge, and they want to keep you from defending yourself. But let's just take this literally for a minute, just for fun, because we're literal people. Is the Second Amendment racist?
No, the Second Amendment is not racist. Now, if you want to make the argument, you can make the argument that gun control is racist, and there are concrete facts to demonstrate that gun control has a history rooted in racism. But the Second Amendment in and of itself isn't racist. For Christ's sakes, we're talking about a country that got its independence by a group of people coming together with their own arms to fight off a tyrannical government. And then as a result of that, writing the Second Amendment so that we can continue to protect that country. So the notion that the Second Amendment is racist is honestly nothing but a red herring. Because if you can color the Second Amendment and make it seem like it's racist, then anybody defending the Second Amendment is inherently defending racism.
Well, that's exactly right. And I remember, I'm not an American history expert or anything, but I thought that men from a bunch of northern states took their own guns south to end slavery by force. They used the Second Amendment to liberate enslaved Africans. I mean, it's completely insane, as you pointed out.
Honestly, the book that the ACO is basing this off of is written by an author who is legitimately anti-gun. She literally said it in a conversation with the ACLU where she said she doesn't believe that the citizens should have semi-automatic guns, which, as you and I both know, that's nearly every gun in the country. Right. So that should tell you everything about what this is designed to do. All it is masking a anti-gun agenda under the cloak of racism. And they know exactly what they're doing. And I just hope that people aren't continuing to fall for this because they've been doing it for a long time now. And personally, I think it's kind of disgusting trying to utilize the racial past in this country to get the very people who probably need the gun the most away from the Second Amendment. I just don't understand it, and I don't get it. And then the fact that I'm merely on here talking to you as one of the most prominent two-way defenders in the country, as a young black man, is also kind of bewildering to me, considering.
I think you're absolutely right. And of course, we both know they do it because it works, and it's kryptonite for a lot of weak people, unfortunately. I appreciate your standing up for a foundational right that all of us were born with, Second Amendment. Colion Noir, thank you.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.
All right, so with that video being played and talking about racism and the patriotic message, it blows my mind that somebody would say that the Second Amendment's racist. Because, like, as they said in the video, it's kind of redundant. I'm repeating myself with what they said. Is the fact that you have the right to bear arms, and that has nothing to do with race. I have never seen anything in the Second Amendment that even closely resembles being racist. You, as an American, any race of any kind, as long as you're of age, has the right to protect yourself with a firearm. I'm going to say that again. With the proper age to own said firearm, you have the right to bear arms and protect yourself. Jax?
Yeah, piggybacking off of what, you and them said, obviously, as an American, it's our right to possess firearms and using our carry permits to be able to have them on our person is something that many of us are choosing to do, especially throughout the whole COVID pandemic situation. A lot more people here in Minnesota started filing for their CCW. However, there's nothing in the Second Amendment that pertains to any race, um, sexual orientation, creed, and anything like that. It is strictly about firearms. And to be honest with you, I don't see anything when it comes down to color of people's skin. I judge you based off your character. If you walk up and you want to rob me and you have me at gunpoint, well, hate to say it, but I'm definitely going to defend myself if, the situation calls for it, depending on what the situation may be. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Good point. So, I want to keep away from the race topic as much as possible. Obviously, we don't need to start any confrontations on here. So, that was our Pro 2A news. We're now going to move into our tactical gear review. For my tactical gear review item, we're going to go over footwear and how it is important in your missions, your everyday life, not only when it comes to Pro 2A stuff. So, for me, when we go shooting and things like that, having proper footwear out in the desert is very important. I have broken an ankle, I have weak ankles to begin with, so having proper ankle support and traction makes a big difference when you're running speed gun courses, 3-gun competition, or even just merely hiking through the mountains. I personally use the 511 AT traction boot. It is an 8-inch boot, non-zip up. As you can see, mine's pretty beat up because I use them all the time, and I actually use these for work. So they come in handy. They're very comfortable, very breathable, but that is my boot. And I'm going to show a short clip from 511 Tactical going over the AT 8-inch boot.
So for this week's tactical gear item, I'm going to go ahead and touch on this lovely Ozark Trail machete. Now, I'll get to this later, but a few key features that I really enjoy are the grooved handle. Obviously, you want a good grip. Your serrated top side, so you can also use it in the field as a saw for cutting wood. Then you have your machete blade itself. Now, it's a decent sized blade. I'd say, well, they say your arm span's supposed to be about how tall you are. So let's say 3 feet. Say about from tip of the blade to end of the handle. It's about a good 1.5 feet long. Now, take the 1/2 foot off. You got about a little over a foot long blade, which is kind of nice. So, got a little eyelet hole there for you to run some 550 cord through. Again, we've talked about 550 cord in the past. Love using 550 cord for many different purposes. Tie downs of your camo nettings, like we talked about in last week's episode, as well as tying down your gear, whether that's to a tree, to a box on the side of a truck, tying down things to the bed of your truck. Doesn't matter, 550 cord works. However, you run some 550 cord through your eyelet there. Not only do you have a useful machete, you got your perfect grip handle there, but in the event that your grip does slip, you can run that 550 cord through there, use a slip knot, run it down your wrist. This way, if by chance it does happen to fall out, you still have control of it. It's not going to hit the ground and impale your foot.
Hey guys, I'm Tyler with Covered 6. I'm here with Condor today to show you the Condor LCS Tie Pull 2.0. So you can immediately see the laser cut material here on the outside to attach anything that you may want to there. There's the loop panel for any patches, any ID panels, anything you want to put on. There's a small admin pocket here for any quick, easy to grab items that you may need. There's a top opening for easy access to the bladder. This will hold a 1.5 liter reservoir. There's tabs and a loop there to hang your reservoir. Now moving on to the back of this hydration carrier, there are removable shoulder straps here using the slick clip operation. There are also 4 MOLLE straps here that you can use to attach to any plate carrier. So there you have it, guys. The Condor LCS Tie Pull 2.0. It's perfect for day hikes, plate carriers, whatever you see fit. And it does come with a 1.5 liter bladder. So if you want to learn more, visit CondorOutdoor.com. If you want to purchase one from any Condor Outdoor dealer. I'm Tyler from Covered 6. Until next time.
Fingers crossed.
All right, so that was our tactical gear reviews. As you saw, I went with the 511 boots. Like you saw in the video, I use them basically on a daily basis between work, hiking, shooting, whatever it is. It's got good ankle support. They're comfortable and they're breathable. So very excited that I have those. That's my 3rd pair of 511 boots. I first started with the patrol boot. Then I went to the Halicon, whatever. Don't judge me if I said it wrong. Halicon boots. Then I went to those, the ATs. Obviously, those varied in price. I went cheap. I went with a $100 pair of boots first. I liked them. They just didn't last as long. They were zip up on the side, so that was kind of cool. The second pair, that Halicon boot or whatever, very, very good. Pretty expensive. I think it was a $200 boot. And it just wasn't breathable enough. So I've settled with those ATs. Those are the most expensive out of the bunch. I believe they were $300. And they've lasted quite a good amount of time, especially working 8 to 14 to 16-hour days when I'm not sick. So, or the weather permitting, obviously. So I like those boots a lot. Good for traction, good for ankle support, breathable, and they're water resistant as well, which is very, very nice. Because I do deal with garden hoses and things like that at work. And then, Jax, you want to talk about yours a little bit?
Yeah, so to touch on the machete in and of itself, it's part of that Ozark Trail brand, which we've touched on many times in past seasons. And the one thing I will say about it is for the price, even just for the machete separated from the big kit, is still fairly reasonably priced. I want to say it's like 10 or 12 bucks. And the big kit that I got all that in with machete, the side knife, everything else like that, we talked about it, was like 36, 37 bucks. So basically half the price of the entire kit is the machete. And, you know, you're out in the field, you need something that's going to be useful, multi-purposeful. Again, like I said in the video, you run 550 cord through it. You got total control of the machete itself. And, you know, I definitely would trust that machete over some rusty buck knife any day of the week, depending on how old that buck knife is in the field.
Absolutely. And you know, it's true. So Not everybody has the money to go out and buy a $100, $200 machete or a $100 or $200 pair of boots. These items that we put up here is to give you an idea of what's out there, a variety of price ranges, and different skill levels, really. So there's certain items that you'll see later on in different episodes where it might be an advanced tactical item that you've A, either never seen, B, didn't know existed, or C, something that you might be interested in and want to up your level of gear. So that's why we do this segment. We want to give you different tools that you can use, not just in a Pro 2A sense. Okay? Like we said, the boots can be used anywhere at any time as long as you got them on your feet. The machete, something that's nice to keep in your vehicle. You don't know. What if something gets caught up underneath your undercarriage around the drive shaft and you don't have any other way to cut it off? You have a really big, long knife. Usually that happens after you've been driving for quite some time. So now the undercarriage of the car is hot. I would rather have a longer blade to cut something off with so I don't get burnt than a little 4-inch pocket knife. Plus you have the ability to saw things down. You can make lean-tos and shelters and all these different things with one tool. Plus, you can also use it as a weapon to defend yourself if you are stuck out in the wild, or if you're in an urban environment, which obviously I don't recommend doing that, but it's there if need be. You know, it's one of those big things. And then let's talk about the little bladder, the Condor bladder. So for me, that's pretty cool. I want it in all black. 1.5 liter isn't a super amount of water, but in a survival scenario, if you're just sipping it every hour and a half, 2 hours to control your water intake and just make sure that you're not dehydrating too fast, because ultimately you're going to dehydrate. So, you know, drink sparingly. That can be hooked directly onto your plate carrier. That's something that I've been looking for a very long time, is something that I can integrate into my plate carrier. Because I have medical supplies and holsters and magazines and all these things on the front, but no real use for the back. And what's nice about that is not only is it a 1.5 liter bag, it also has MOLLE webbing on it, so you can attach carrier cases and stuff to it, or you could physically use the bag as like a little mini backpack. Throw some protein bars, some Nutri-Grain bars, granola bars, whatever. Throw some extra little goodies down in there, maybe a signaling mirror, a way to light a fire. You're self-contained, and it's on your rig, so you're protected because you have your magazines and your ammo in the front and your first aid kit, trauma kit. You got water, you got nutritional snacks to try to keep you going for energy. That sheath that comes with the machete, you can MOLLE that onto your back as well onto your plate carrier. Now you have a means to make shelter, food, water, defend yourself, and you're not overly weighing yourself down. I mean, you could add, I'm going to ask Jax, your rough sack and your plate carrier and all that stuff. You're carrying around, 80, 90 pounds of gear in the military?
Well, no, sometimes more than that. It depends on the mission you're going out on. Minimalistically speaking, 80 to 90 pounds. But, for instance, I talked when I was in my AIT days and that, with some of my buddies that were going airborne over in Charlie Company. They would have to do mile-long, 2, 3, 4+ mile-long ruck marches with plates and their plate carriers, and about anywhere from, on the small side, 90, on the heavier side, 140 pounds in their ruck, depending on what gear they needed to bring out into the field and where they fell in formation. Now, speaking of that hydration pack, the Condor one's always an option. Otherwise, I'll touch more on this later on down the road. But I do run a hydration source on my EDC bag with, obviously, my IFAC MOLLE to the front. So I'll get into more of that later on down the road. But yeah, the Condor hydration pack, awesome way out in the field to stay hydrated. My days in the military, we had Camelback hydration packs, that held, I want to say, 2 liters of water. So not too much more, but just enough to get you through a duty day. So this way, if you are out, doing rifle qualification, you have water on you until you got back to the barracks.
There you go. So once again, that goes back to the ability to have a means of success when it comes to being stuck in a survival situation. So clearly, we're not trying to carry 90-pound rough sacks or 120-pound sacks with us in a civilian aspect. But to be able to have my plate carrier with like ceramic plates or something in it, and my magazines, couple magazines, whatever, because I'm not going into combat. That's what we all need to understand, is people get all decked out to the point to where they're ready to go fight a war, which I'm not saying I'm not ready for whatever. Clearly, I mean, you see the guns behind me. I keep it all locked and loaded and ready to go, until bedtime. And then, of course, they get all put away or whatever when we're not doing live streams and stuff. But in the safe, it's locked and loaded and ready to go. And the only reason why that AR doesn't have a magazine in it right now is because I did a special video for the Patreon subscribers that I have, talking about the rifle and breaking it down and things like that. But there's one in the chamber in that rifle, so if I only had one shot to take, I'm ready to go. And of course, you see that there's a pistol missing over here. That's for another story. We're doing some work on that. So my point is, being prepared doesn't mean being, paranoid or bugging out or any of that kind of crap. It's literally the fact that when something happens, you're ready. Don't plan for the end of the world. That's not what I'm saying. Plan for your vehicle to break down somewhere on a trip. Plan for water. Plan for snacks, because you never know. Perfect example. Before I got sick, me and Jonna and the family, we went down to Six Flags, California. Well, on our way back, we had a semi-truck, like a fueling truck, flip in the middle of this road on Pure Blossom Highway. If you've droven, whatever the right word is, the Pure Blossom Highway, it's a one lane going this way and a one lane going this way. And this truck flipped in the middle of both lanes. We were stuck. We had no choice but to wait as long as it took for everybody to move out of the way. It took added time. And we could see a lot of people in their cars sweating it out. They ran out of their drink. The nearest gas station isn't 50 miles away, or it's not until 50 miles or more away. We had gallons of water in the truck that we keep for emergency backups. We had snacks like chips and stuff from going on our trip, but we have, like I said in a previous video, 7 days worth of emergency food rations per person in the car. So we were fine. We have, we're not going to get into the movie player. Well, I guess I'm going to have to now. We have a movie player for when the vehicle's put in park to be able to watch movies, if you know what I mean. So we had movies, drinks, snacks, AC, trucks running fine, but we were prepared in the event that we needed to pull over because it wasn't going to get cleared up. I have multiple tents and stuff in the back of the truck. We could have camped right then and there and been perfectly fine. Air mattresses, cots, multiple redundancies of ways to be comfortable in a situation that normally people would be in a severely bad way if they weren't prepared for. So a bad situation for one could have been whatever, this is just killing more time than I wanted to kill scenario because I was prepared. Jax, what are a couple of ways of things that you do to prepare your vehicle or prepare yourself when you go out into the world? Apparently there's somebody on the front door. We're going to shut that off.
Yeah.
What do you do to prepare yourself?
Yeah, so to touch on your question, obviously you guys just seen my EDC bag. When we're talking about, these tactical gear items, like we said, it's not preparing for like the apocalypse. But in the event that does happen, obviously we want you guys to be, prepared for that as well. But being realistic here, we're breaking it down by things that are in the moment, or maybe a week, 2 weeks down the road. Like Wes said, the week's worth of food rations inside his truck and water. Okay. I've got my EDC bag with the hydration pack, my IFAC, binos, GPS system in case, I have to use my phone to make phone calls and can't necessarily use my Google Maps. I have a different way of navigating if I get lost and need to get from point A to point B. In my trunk, I keep, basic necessities, tools, spare clothes, and that. And when it really comes down to it, food ration wise, I'm going to have to restock up on that. I've been looking at a few different MRE options, but I'm probably going to end up looking on Amazon for the bigger cases of them, because I think that's where you're going to find them the cheapest. Overall, though, we're trying to prepare you to think, a week or two ahead down the road. I mean, obviously, when it comes to vehicle wise, it's kind of like going down the road. If you have a flat tire, obviously, you're going to want to have a bottle jack at the very minimum that the vehicle comes with, and a tire iron to take off that tire and put on your spare until you can safely get your vehicle down the road to the nearest shop and get a new tread put on that tire. So,
and I want to speak on that for a second too. Get yourself a good spare tire. Don't run a donut. Don't drive on a donut for more than 50 miles. They are not designed for that. I run a full-sized rim and tire as a spare because I want to be able to get home. I don't want to go 50 miles and stop in a little town and get charged out the ass. Excuse my language, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, whatever we're streaming to right now. You don't want that. Run a good spare. Get an actual rim. Get an actual tire. Out here in Vegas, there's little shops on the east side of town where you can get a rim and a tire for like $75. Throw it in your car, in your truck, whatever. Get yourself something that's going to be durable. One thing that you'll hear from us the most is making sure that your gear works and that it's going to be good. It doesn't matter about spending crazy amount of money. You don't need to spend a bunch of money. But what you do need to do is make sure that the gear you're able to afford is going to be effective when you need it. That's the biggest thing. But we're going to move on from our tactical gear review stuff. We're going to move right into our shout outs and sponsors. All right. So the first shout out I want to give to is Wendy from Sight Shooter at sightshooter.com. She is a local firearms instructor, primarily targeting the brand new shooter to the gun industry world or to the shooting world. She teaches a lot of beginner classes, self-defense classes, things like that. As far as I know, she's still working on getting her CCW license to be able to actually do the CCW courses. But all in all, I highly recommend her for your shooting classes just to get better. She's not going to put you in an indoor range where you're being surrounded by a bunch of machine gun fire from machine gun experiences and things like that. She's going to have you follow her out to a secure location out in the desert that has cell phone reception. She typically supplies ammo, targets, and things of that nature. Sometimes she even supplies guns, or she'll have you start with one of her guns to make sure that you are comfortable with a low caliber, low recoil weapon, get your fundamentals down, and then proceed to take you into the shooting portion with your own firearm. So she's very, very good at what she does. Check her out, sightshooter.com. Tell her that Wes and Jax from Sincity Tactical sent you, and she'll give you a little bit of a break on her fees. Secondly, I do want to shout out to Patreon. Check us out on Patreon. That is a way for you to donate to help the show grow and get better. For you guys that have been around for a while and have been watching the show, excuse me, you've seen the show grow tremendously, I hope, in the past couple of months, where what we're doing is better quality and what we're bringing to the table is better quality. That only happens with the supporters that we get to help us. YouTube is not going to monetize us. Facebook isn't going to monetize us because of the type of content that we do. We enjoy it, so we want to give you that information, but if you are able to help us in return, greatly appreciated. You can also check us out at anchor.fm and do smaller donations there on either side, Sincity Tactical Minnesota Division, or MN Division, I should say, and Sincity Tactical, just regular straight up. We both have our own anchors there. Anything you donate does go to help a cause, not only just to help with the show. So that's who I am shouting out this week, and I'm going to pass it over to Jax.
Indeed. So I'm going to go ahead here and take a minute to just briefly shout out again my side of Anchor, and this is for the audio side pertaining to mainly, if you guys are out here listening to the audio, go ahead and jump over to the live streams that happen every Saturday at 8 p.m. However, for those of you that are watching, definitely, if for whatever reason you can't make a live stream, you can always rewatch it here on YouTube, rewatch it on the Facebook pages, or if you're driving and have a hands-free way to listen to it, again, Anchor FM, Apple Podcasts, or at basically any audio platform of podcast that you can receive this show on, it's there. So that's first and foremost. Secondly, again, I want to go ahead this week and shout out G3 over at G3Survival.com. Obviously, last couple of shows, Griff hasn't been here. Unfortunately, he won't be here at least for the next couple of weeks due to some personalized reasons. But in the event that things go back to normal and his day-to-day life and he is back, I know he'll take that back over, but he is a very good buddy of mine and Griff's and makes the finest leather-made goods for firearms out there. So definitely go ahead and check out G3Survival.com, or you could scan the QR codes down here at the bottom of the screen, and there is a tab on our websites to take you directly to his merchandise from our page. So that's secondly. And thirdly, we're second week back. I want to go ahead and shout Wes out yet again for bringing me back into the swing of things and, bringing me back here on the show. And it's a good thing to be doing this again. So thank you very much, brother.
Absolutely. I do want to follow up on that. As you can see on the screen here, our social media links are there. Not all of them are there. We both have Twitters. We're on, like he said, Anchor, Apple, Spotify, a bunch of the podcasting websites do our show. We've grown a lot as a show, and we're very, very thankful for the people that have consistently been watching. And all we could ask is you like, comment, and subscribe. The more likes and comments and subscriptions that we get helps with the YouTube algorithm. Please do it on YouTube if you're able to. It helps get our content out there even more so we can build the show bigger. That is another way that you can help us as well. But that's enough with the shout outs and sponsors. Thank you, all of our sponsors. We're going to move into our Red Button News.
What's up, guys? This is Jax with Sincity Tactical Minnesota. This week for your Red Button News topic, I thought we'd mosey on down to the state under us here in Minnesota and bring you a story from Iowa. So Iowa investigators see no link between the recent disappearance of 11-year-old Xavier Harrelson and the 2018 death of Molly Tibbetts, for which Christian Rivera was convicted of murder in May. Harrelson disappeared from a trailer park in Montezuma on May 27th, one day before Rivera was found guilty by a jury. Rivera's defense team asked for a new trial earlier this month, saying that the former live-in boyfriend of Harrelson's mom, 50-year-old James Lowe, has allegedly been linked to sex trafficking in Iowa and could have something to do with Tibbetts' death and disappearance. So before we move any further into this, you can definitely find the rest of the story on foxnews.com. But obviously, Rivera's defense team now wants a retrial, and they're going to have to produce this evidence that proves that Lowell had been linked to sex trafficking down there in Iowa in the first place to even have a plausible story to get a retrial going. At least in my opinion, I'm not sure how well the court's going to take that. But moving forward with the story, the attorneys contended that 2 new witnesses have recently come forward and blamed another 21-year-old man, Gavin Jones, for Tibbetts' murder, putting forth a theory that Tibbetts was allegedly kidnapped into a sex trafficking ring run by Lowe, who then allegedly ordered Jones and another man to kill Tibbetts. Not going to butcher the gentleman's last name, but Mitch, assistant director of the Iowa Division of Criminal Investigation, threw cold water on that theory this week, saying that there is no connection between the cases. We are confident in the investigation, prosecution, and side of Molly Tibbetts, and that he acted alone. So, again, if anything new comes out on this story, I will make sure that I report on it first thing to you guys, and we will see you on next week's Red Button News.
All right, walk us through it, Jax.
Well, obviously, we touched on the whole Rivera thing with them finding out that, in conclusion, neither the disappearance or the death is linked. Nothing new has come out yet that I've seen, but I am going to be looking into it even further to try to find any other information. But with what we do have, it sounds to me like, regardless of the situation, Rivera's already been convicted and is doing time. His defense attorney, though, wants to get a retrial. And I don't know if necessarily pinning it on Lowell will get him off scot-free if he does get a retrial down there, or if, it's just going to be kind of a long shot for him. But either way, if you did the crime, you deserve to do the time, in my opinion. And he's already made his bed, so now he's got to sleep in it.
Absolutely. I mean, there's nothing else really I would add to that. It's crazy world we live in, man. One thing I will say, and I don't know if this is prevalent in Minnesota, and actually, oh, snap, timeout. We're going to add this to the Red Button News. I believe it was yesterday, some dude cut his girlfriend's head off in the streets in the middle of the day out in Minnesota.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that yesterday, actually. It actually happened down in Shakopee, which isn't too far from where I work down in Savage. So, that give or take, it's, I think, half hour away from Savage, and the rumor going around town was dude went nuts and cut his girlfriend's head off. So I'll have to look into that too and bring you the full story once I figure out what's going on there.
Yeah, so that's crazy. But back to the sex trafficking thing. Out here in Vegas, there's signs where it's saying modeling, want to take your photo. It's like little signs like Realty, KB Homes, this way type of signs. Do not call those. Do not go to those photo shoot things. I'm primarily talking to the younger women out there, especially like Jonna's age, things like that. Do not get tricked into fake modeling scams. To me, when I see those signs, I see sex trafficking. That's what that is to me. Because, first of all, models don't approach anything without an agent and people looking at it and things in that sort. So to call somebody for a photo shoot doesn't sound good. So I wouldn't do that if I were you. Please try to avoid those type of things. That's just a PSA, okay? All right, we're going to move into the EDC how and why.
All right, so here's kind of a conventional RFID blocking solution. I think this came free with some Amazon purchase. I don't know. If we slip this into our little, just kind of foil lined sleeve, this should be no different than what we saw earlier with the tin foil, right? Try to hold it up. Yeah, not finding anything. All right, that's going to time out. And we shouldn't expect anything different, even with other technologies, because they're all 13.56 megahertz. Anything at all? Womp womp.
All right, so the EDC How and Why was brought to you by an RFID whatever blocker. I don't think that's super prevalent right now. I mean, I think there's a lot of things going on, but who's to say that it's not? Some people are still out here trying to hack. Protecting your credentials, your credit cards, things like that is a big thing. I personally have a wallet that blocks that RFID thing. It's built into the wallet for all of my cards, but you could do cheap little sleeves and things like that, like you saw in the video, to block your information from getting stolen. Jax, do you have any items that block RFID?
Yeah, actually, my current tactical wallet that we've talked about is RFID protecting in and of itself. However, when it comes down to the RFID thing, I don't necessarily think that it's never going to be irrelevant in today's technical advancement society that we're in. There are a lot of people out there that want to obviously steal people's bank accounts, identities, things like that. So getting yourself, a tactical wallet or RFID blocking wallet is always a good idea. Personally, I try to be as minimalistic as possible. I mean, I can still carry cash in the wallet, but mainly all of my cards are on the inside. So everything's blocked, sealed away. And ultimately, when it really comes down to it, I think it's definitely a good investment if you want to protect your assets and your identity overall. Oh, can't hear you, brother. Negative. Pardon us while we figure out this quick little technical difficulty, ladies and gentlemen. That is a negative. So, being as we're currently having technical difficulties, I know it's about 10 minutes before the end of the show here, but with that being said, from myself and Wes over in Sincity Tactical, Nevada, we want to go ahead and say thank you for joining us, and we will catch you on next week's episode. Stay free and stay safe out there. Pro 2A, we're out.